Hello everyone, I'm Paula Gilbert, the editor of Connecting Africa, and I'm here at MWC Kigali in Rwanda. And with me I have Caroline Mbugua, who is the Director of Public Policy at the GSMA. It's great to have you.
It's great to be here. Thank you very much.
So Caroline, I'm very interested. You just released this report, the Mobile Tax Policy and Digital Development Report for 2023. Some very interesting stats coming out of there. So maybe let's talk a bit about device taxation. What are kind of those stats and how are they impacting consumers?
Thank you very much. And you're rightfully so. The GSMA today, or rather yesterday, published a report on sub-Saharan Africa taxes. So trying to understand the tax environment in the region and trying to understand how we are evolving on the same. So if you look at the usage gap in the region, and these are consumers that are covered by mobile broadband services and are not using this service, it continues to be significantly high in the region. And one of the key barriers of course, mobile broadband adoption is affordability, and affordability of both service and devices. The mobile taxation report that we launched yesterday paints a clear picture that we continue to have a substantial level of high taxes on devices, which is creating a high barrier for mobile broadband adoption in the region.
So what do we need to do to bring these taxes down? Is it about governments dropping them? Is it about collaborations? Is it about the phone companies dropping their prices?
So you asked a very good question, and this is something that came up in the session that we had yesterday. So we are calling on governments in the region to reduce or to remove some of these taxes. And these taxes are sector-specific taxes like excise duty, for instance, looking at import duty taxes on these devices. Because in markets like Senegal, for instance, where we have seen these taxes removed, there has been a significant uptake or significant penetration of smartphone devices in that particular market. So asking governments to prioritize digitalization of their economies, and without smartphones, we are not able to achieve this in a sustainable manner.
And it also plays into how much telcos want to invest, right? If they having to take on all these extra costs, then they don't want to invest. And so what kind of impact does that make, do you think?
It's actually it's not that telcos don't want to invest, because telcos are there as businessmen. The objective is actually to invest and make some return. And telcos are willing to mobilize resources to make the investments. But the challenge has been is that the return on investment, on the other hand, is squeezing. You know, the return on investment is actually reducing. And this is being driven by, of course, high taxation level in the region, and in some instances, unpredictable taxation environment. And so for that reason, we're asking for governments to, of course, look at providing a conducive environment from a tax perspective to be able to enable investment in the sector. Because if we look at beyond taxation, there are other macroeconomic challenges that are faced by the region. So, of course, to be able to cushion mobile operators from that, we are asking for a review of tax reforms in the region that will be able to now provide that stable environment to drive investment that we need, that is very critical for innovation and, of course, digitalization of economies.
And then another thing is mobile money taxation. What's kind of the message to regulators there and to governments about the fact that the more you tax there, the less people are going to use it, and it's actually impacting GDP, right?
If you look at the adoption of mobile money services, it's very clear that the mobile money services are key indicator for driving digital development or growth in a particular market. In East Africa, for instance, we have the highest level of mobile money adoption. But on the other hand, where we have seen mobile money taxes introduced in a market like Tanzania and Ghana, there has been a significant reduction on a few areas. The number of transactions that have been done, volume of transactions, the transactions, person-to-person transactions, cash in, cash and transaction, etc. So what that means is that when we have high taxes, consumers react immediately. The elasticity of that services is very high. Consumers react very high, very fast, and we see a significant drop in adoption of these services. What it means is that the progress we had made by making our economies cashless is eroded overnight by these taxes, because we fall back into a cash economy. And of course, also, when we have a shrinking sector, which is the mobile money sector, it means that there is no growth and there is no development. And the role that that sector was playing in terms of bringing value to government in form of taxes is reduced. So meaning in the long run, the taxes will actually reduce taxes to government in form of corporation tax, among others, at the end of the day.
All right. And then just lastly, maybe what's the summary of what the GSMA is recommending to regulators and governments?
Mobile operators are happy to continue paying taxes. We don't have an issue with paying taxes, and this is purely because the mobile operators are committed to continue investing in the development of the countries that we are playing in. But what we are asking for is a structured approach in terms of developing these taxes, a predictable environment when you're developing these taxes that are not disruptive, taxes that will not lead to reduction of investment, taxes that will not reduce the adoption of service, so does not impact affordability, and those that and of course developing taxes in looking at a more long-term approach as opposed to a short-term approach that leads to high taxes that are not sometimes these taxes also cannibalize each other. So it's a more structured approach, and over and above that is consultation. Consultation is critical with the stakeholders, mobile operators included, so that you can be able to look at ways that provide a win-win solution for government in terms of revenue and expanding tax bracket, for mobile operators to drive investment and growth in the sector, and most importantly to the consumer who is reliant on these services to be able to run their day-to-day lives.
Okay, well, we're going to have to leave it there, but thanks very much for all those amazing points.
Thank you.
Thanks very much to Caroline Mbugua, who is the Director of Public Policy at the GSMA.